Welcome to In My Opinion 4, Shining Resonance, Refrain. Long ago, a great evil called Deus tried to destroy the land and build a new one. Dragons fought one another and so did elves in what is now called Ragnarok. Finally, thanks to the Shining Dragon and his allies, Deus was sealed away. But many dragons perished and the elves left their land called Alfheim for greener pastures. Humans eventually came to this land and built the Kingdom of Astoria. Peace was had until the Lombardian Empire started to take over land to find ancient dragon crystals for their own gain. During this process, they found the soul of the Shining Dragon and a boy called Yuma. Yuma is then rescued by two who wield special weapons made by the Shining Dragon known as Dragoneers, from those who stand against Lombardia. And he comes to realize it's up to him to use his power and save the world. I actually enjoyed the lore and world building in the game. I found myself getting sucked into the history, though I wish they went a little further with how big this conflict is. I mean, one of the kingdoms that is assisting you is talked about but never seen. Your teammates are also a joy to be around. The game does a great job building them up and not making them feel like some boring and bland people you wouldn't want to be around. So as the party grows, things just get better. I was actually worried about Yuma since he does come off awfully whiny at first, but that goes away quick enough that it doesn't get to the point that you're screaming shut up. The villains as well are pretty dang good, and while yes, some are just muhaha evil, what balances that out is some are not as black and white evil as you come to see more of them and get their views. This is definitely a game that will hook you with its world and cast of characters. Quick note, there are two modes you can play, which is Original and Refrain. Refrain kind of spoils stuff for two certain characters, but let's say go with it anyway since it's the only way to get their special endings as well as some extra scenes with them. This one is an action RPG. You have full control of the character, allowing you to dash and block all you like. If you block just at the right time, you can pull off a parry, which throws your opponent off and makes them stumble, allowing a small window of opportunity to deal out some punishment. While you can't just whack your enemies around with your light attacks, you also have a heavy one that does come in handy. You may have noticed a circle on the baddies changing color. Well, this is their break meter. Constantly smacking them with your hard strike or even mixing it with light attacks, making it have greater effect, will eventually turn it red and break them. At this state, they are completely helpless and take more damage from you, but be quick since it only lasts for a certain amount of time. You can even make it happen faster by pulling off a hard strike while they are preparing for a big attack. You did start with a limited amount of skills, but as you level up, you will start to earn more and even upgrade current skills you're using. Also, while this is all going on, you do have an action point gauge that is shown right under you. When it's empty, you can't attack anymore and must wait till it fills some to start swinging away again. Though it doesn't kill the flow of combat, as you just gotta know what you're doing. Since this game does have a theme of music being a weapon, you do get what are called tunes. These grant you special abilities for your character, so Yuma can have one to deal out faster attacks, Kirika can have one to make her healing spells more effective, Sonya can make her piercing attacks do more damage, Agnum can add burn to all his attacks, and so forth. This allows you to pick how the character plays, and unlocking them is pretty easy. You can just level up one to max to get more, or do some missions. What's kinda stupid is to change your tune, you have to pay $200 each time, even if it's one that you already had. Later on, it's not a problem since you're rolling in the dough, but that's much later on. So you kinda feel like you have to stick to just one for a good while. Also, depending on the tune you pick, you may have noticed some empty slots. This is where you can stick aspects. Aspects are these little balls that give you super helpful boosts. You got your typical strength, defense, and health boosts, but you also got stuff like increased drop rate, increase the money you earn, increase the distance of your attacks, and so forth. More unlock as you play, and there are multiple ways to get aspects, which I'll get into later. There's also something called a bond grid. Depending on where you place characters, they can assist you in other ways during combat, like adding a buff to you or a debuff for a baddie. These become more common the more you leave the bonds in place. Depending on what traits you have, which are titles, you earn multiple ways like going through the story, doing a mission, and talking to characters trigger what debuff or buff happens. However, the game is not very clear on how this works and what each color ball in the bond grid does, so I was kind of shooting in the dark most of the time. The last big part of combat is the meter you see on the left. This is your band meter and is exactly what it sounds like. Once it's filled up by attacking your enemies, you and your group can start busting out the tunes, to keep with the whole theme of music equals power. Not only do these sound pretty dang good, they also give you a boost depending on who's the lead of the band. The boosts are things like attack speed, making the enemy's defense slower, and you earning more XP after the battle is done. New band tunes unlock under certain circumstances, like getting past a certain part of the story or completing a mission. I do like the fact that at least two of the cast members' clothes change depending on which song you pick. However, it would have been more cool if each character got a wardrobe change. Band also comes in handy when you transform into a dragon. Yes, you can turn into a dragon. After all, this game has a big focus on them. Transforming is rather epic looking, but the downside is it sucks up all your MP. And when it's empty, you can go batshit crazy and kill everyone. However, during ban, even after the MP is wasted, you still remain calm while in dragon form. Just be sure to switch back before it's too late. The combat itself isn't particularly bad. While it does feel like it starts off slow, it does pick up once you get more skills. And all the customization options does let you make the character play how you would like them to. The partner AI is a bit iffy sometimes as they just stand around like dummies, but most of the time it's on the attack. Also, it does a good job healing the team if you got a healer, but for some strange reason when I put the skill to cure status effects, the AI was too damn dumb to use it the majority of the time. Another odd little thing about the combat is while yes you can switch characters during battle, it's done in a clunky ass way. It's not like let's say a Tales game where you push a button. No, you gotta pause the game for the menu then switch out like that. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it kinda ruins the flow of combat. I also hate the fact that the only team members to gain any experience points are the ones on the field. It's just an archaic design choice at this point, and the only way to make the other teammates gain some XP off field is by getting a certain aspect, which is a pain in the butt to make. While not out in the field, you'll be in the Kingdom of Astoria in the town of Marga. This is your hub world, as you won't be going to any other kingdom to chill. It's all combat once you step out. While here, you can do a few things. Of course, you got a shop where you can buy items to heal and such, and even get new aspects as the game goes along. There's the alchemy shop where instead of buying items, you can make them if you have said resources, and same goes for the aspects. Also, as I mentioned before, you can change your tune by going to the tuning studio, and for some weird reason, you can change the aspects here as well. But you can change the aspects actually whenever, so it just feels kind of random being here. There's no worries about spending money at an inn since this one's always free if you want to heal up or get a chance to change the weather since it does have a chance to randomly change after resting, and depending on the weather, certain areas will spawn different monsters. There are some other things you can check at the inn as well, like pictures you may have unlocked, character figures you can buy from Fromage, and monster details if you need to know what drops what. Of course, you can take some quests from citizens, which are pretty run-of-the-mill, as in kill a monster or find an item. The positive is they do give you some good resources for crafting, some are repeatable, and it's not hard to see where you have to go as there's always a picture and description. You can take as much missions as you like at a time, and you can always check what missions you have done and got left with a push of a button. Thankfully, there's an item you can buy that lets you teleport right back to town, and there's even a point in the game where you can buy a version of the item that never wastes, making the walk back for missions painless. Now, while those quests are rather dry and don't give much in terms of character development, there is something that does. There are side conversations that pop up in the town here and there, so it's best to check before you leave, and even resting helps make them pop up. A ... icon shows up over a character's head letting you know you can activate it. These conversations are a fantastic addition as it adds more personality to our cast. Even those not a part of the team get some time to shine, like finding out more about the innkeeper Emma and her daughter Primula, or Sonia's constant trial of getting a hit on Captain Burrows. I was happy that the game had tons of these to go through. A big part of the game is building relationships. This is done multiple ways. In each new chapter, you will get asked a timed question from your teammates, and depending on your response, you will get a good, bad, or non-reaction from them. Going in battle with them will increase their affection as well. When it reaches a certain limit, you can ask to meet up with them during the night when you rest. And there's a chance you get asked a question here as well. After a bit, the captain will eventually ask you out for a stroll in town, where you can visit 3 spots and see their reactions. And then you will have a little bonding scene getting closer. Do this enough times, and if it's a girl, you will get a love confession. And if it's a guy, your bromance will get even more bromancier. I love doing this since it lets you learn more about your teammates and lets you become closer on a whole other level, learning about their past and feelings for you. What's great is none of these are missable even after you choose your one true partner and beat the game. It will just start from there again, allowing you to max out and see everyone's ending. This is why not having a visible affection meter is not a huge problem. You can also do the talking at night stuff if you want to at the campsites around the map. Another activity is the Grimoire dungeons. This is unlocked pretty early in the game. Here you can enter customized dungeons that can net you special aspects and other goodies. You can also use certain items to customize the dungeons, such as adding one type of enemy, making enemies stronger, gaining more experience, gaining more money, and well more. These helpful little items are called sigils, which can be attained by just killing monsters or buying some from the store. The dungeons are actually pretty helpful if you want to level up fast or try to obtain a certain drop from an enemy without going out in the field and searching for them. It's also good that there are at least visual differences between the dungeons as well as different enemies, so you won't get bored. The last thing on the list is the events you can check out. While you start off with a few, you get the rest after you finish the game. These are a nice addition since a good chunk of them take place after you beat the game, so you can see how some of the relationships are going after the credits rolled. It's also pretty funny ones like having the girls advertise a resort around bikinis and then having to clear a grimoire dungeon that only allows girls in bikinis to fight. Yes, this is a thing. The group even learns about Christmas in one of these. They are definitely entertaining to go through. You know, even though this is a PS3 title that was brought over to the PS4, it still looks rather nice. The conversion wasn't a mess and it comes out looking vibrant, colorful, clean, and smooth. The in-game models are detailed, and even though most of the scenes are with them standing in front of some backgrounds, they have enough movement and expression that doesn't feel lifeless. There are some actual cutscenes that use the in-game engine, and those look good as well. I like that our cast of characters each have a unique look to make them stand out. Even some of the side characters fit that mode. While we won't be seeing any of the towns, which is kind of a bummer, at least the areas with monsters look varied enough that it doesn't feel like the whole map is just one big gray blob. We also get some great voice work from my cast, and the only one that sounded a bit weird to me at first was Sonya, but it improved. If you'd rather hear the Japan voice actors, there's an option for that as well.
Watch out! Who goes?
Sensed it before you saw it, did you? Sharp as ever. As expected of Astorian knights.
You're quite something too to get so close to us undetected. You must be a famous knight yourself.
I also do like the fact that if for some reason you forgot what was happening the last time you played the game, it gives you a little catch up before you start. There's even a little dictionary you can check up that constantly updates as you play if you want to recheck the history and any phrases. The frame rate for the most part is perfectly fine. However, when big magical spells start to cover the screen, the frame rate takes a noticeable dip. I actually had a really good time with this game. The world lore was interesting and the characters themselves were developed and likable. While there was some questionable design choices like the character switching level up system, I still had fun with the combat. I was done with the game and maxing out everyone's affection around the 60-hour mark. However, with stuff like the grimoire dungeons, events, seeing everyone's ending, and post-game boss fights, I ended up adding like 10 more hours of gameplay, so there's a lot to do if you're enjoying the game. So yeah, even with some of its trip ups, I felt the game still shined. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.